Before I get into my review of this movie, consider this your spoiler warning because I will be talking spoilerish-ish. Now let's get on to this review. I really enjoyed this movie. Now, call me a sucker, but I'm really a fan of period pieces. And I'm definitely a huge fan of anything war related. Now, it doesn't have to be modern war. It could be ancient war. It could be anything really based on true events, and color me a sucker because I'm definitely going to enjoy that movie. Not in all cases, because even in my own, go back and check some of the reviews that I've done to movies that are based on true events, as they say. I've given bad reviews, especially when it's inspired by true events and it's a horror movie. I mean, that's a whole different subject and a whole different line nonetheless. So just take this critique with that bias because, again, I am a sucker for these types of movies. So basically, in a nutshell, is just like the title says of the movie, a forgotten battle that was very important to I don't know what they call them, like the people from Netherlands, but let's just call them, I think Dutch, no. Is it Dutch? Maybe Dutchman. I'm not sure. But this was very integral in the freedom of Netherlands. Now we are talking about World War II, and this movie does a very good job in showing you what war was like, period. And we've all seen enough World War II movies to understand the gruesomeness of it all, and this movie does not disappoint. It feels very authentic. I got taken to a different world, and I really enjoyed the aesthetics of this movie as far as the authenticity, the use of that era's war, uniforms, equipment, war, weapons, all that stuff. It was just so spot on, and I appreciate that level of attention to detail in my movies. So hats off to the director, producer, and everyone involved in accomplishing that. Now, with that being said, we basically are introduced to two young gentlemen, and that's our viewpoint for this movie. One is on the Nazi side, and then the other one is on the England side. I think he was airborne, and from the England side. And we get introduced to some Canadians, but it's just basically these two characters, and we're seeing it through their prism. And what is very unique, and maybe not unique to this movie, but it felt very unique, is that it gives us these two different perspectives, but they're honestly feeling the exact same thing as far as, yes, the obvious, right? No matter what side you're in, the totality of the pressure that war brings is felt on both sides. And both sides think they're doing something for good, whether it was the Nazi side or whether it was the Allied side. They both believe they are fighting and dying for something. And in that journey from these two young men, they find out that it's not exactly what they think it's going to be. Both sides do atrocious things. Both sides do war crimes. Both sides have traitors. Both sides, have their flaws. And as this story is unraveling, they both seem to come to that realization, where in our the Nazi officer, this young person, by the end of it, he ends up having a change of heart and protects a young woman that basically helped the Allies get the pictures that kind of let them go, because they have to take over this bank, but they kind of go around it. And this lady and this other young lady both help the Allies get those pictures. And one of them dies, getting the pictures to the Allies, and the other one is captured, helping the other one escape with the pictures to give to the Allies. And it just gives you this, understanding of the sacrifices that people did for not people that they knew, just because they were doing what they believed was right. And towards the end, like I said, this young gentleman helps this, in the Nazis' eyes, a traitor. In the Allies' eyes, this young lady would have been called a hero that helped take down the right. And in our English side, or the airman, he again realizes that yes, there's atrocities happening, but it's ultimately for the greater good. And towards the end, yes, he's disheartened with his side because he's experienced his own betrayal. He's experienced the amount of loss of life. But at the end of the day, he realizes that they are doing this to free to free people that are fighting against the Nazi regime in that time. And they do it in such an eloquent, poetic way. Again, beautifully done. And I'm probably not doing it justice because there is underlying stories in this film. It's around 2 hours and 4 minutes long, I think, or around 10 minutes long. So it's pretty lengthy. And you'll just have to watch it and take my word for it that this is just a beautifully shot movie. There's, like I said, there's many little plots in between it, but that's the overarching plot of this story. Just the two different viewpoints that are very, very similar, even though there's two distinct sides here, the Nazis and the Allies. But I completely enjoyed that plot. Very not unique because we have seen this before, but they did it very well. Now, this movie is foreign. There is English, there is German, there's dubbing involved, but I thought it was really, really well done. And besides the dubbing, I thought this movie was really well acted. It was beautifully shot. The cinematography, the way they incorporated some CGI, I'm assuming, especially with that air scene towards the middle of the movie. I thought it was great. I don't know if they used real airplanes or not, but the way they shot it, the way they gave us that grand scale of the Allies' approach to not taking over, but to freeing Netherlands was beautifully done. And even when you're in this journey with these characters, the way they film the environment around them was very well done. The score, the music for this movie was really, really well done. Very epic, very suspenseful. It fit perfectly with the movie. There was some pacing issues. I think this movie could have been an hour and 45 minutes, and you could have cut off like 20 minutes of this movie, or 15 to 20 minutes of this movie, and it would have probably flowed a lot better. But it has enough peaks rather than valleys to make you just stick by. Yes, I looked at my phone every once in a while, just because, again, it did have some pacing issues, a lot of dialogue, a lot of meaningless dialogue, because at the end of the day, we're only supposed to focus on these two characters or these two viewpoints, and then the other ones just kind of become like, I could really care less, and they really don't go nowhere. But with that being said, I rated this movie a B, because there was certain issues. Some of the acting, even though I said it was very well acted, there were some parts where they weren't. And there was a scene where they're taking over this trench, this strip. And I get it. You want to show what happens during war, but it dragged on too long. I got what the director was trying to do, but I just think it lagged too much. But this movie did more right than wrong, so it gets a B rating from me. But anyways, those are just my thoughts. I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments, and like always, that's a wrap.